What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into a live Cleveland Browns report. Sorry for the schedule change this week. Had to shift it a day earlier. I'm supposed to fly out tonight, but it's a lot of bad weather in Dallas right now where our studios are located, so knock on wood. But I appreciate everyone accommodating to my needs. Now, we're going to get through a lot of coverage today, right? We're going to talk about the latest news and rumors as always. Plus, we've got some trade targets on today's show, 5 names to look for. And then finally, a mailbag. Now, because of the schedule change, we've got a different producer today. So everyone clap it up for the one and only, I should say, Sam Brown. Sam,
Put some respect on my name.
Thank you for joining the Dawg Pound. Now, Sam is a big OU guy. He's an alum, so he was a partial Browns fan for about 4 years.
Baker Mayfield is my favorite OU player of all time.
Exactly,
so
there it is. So
I was on that train.
With that being said, though, we haven't done this in a little bit because it's been so hectic lately, I feel like, with all the DC search and whatnot. But shout out your city. Let me know where you are watching from today. Get in the chat right now and shout out your city. Always so good to see such familiar names in there. Levi, Joshua, Scorpion, Tyman, all the OGs are here and ready to go. Fletcher's Legos are tuning in from Indiana. Tyman, how we doing? Levi had to break out the Browns polo for the live show, of course. Levi's in Rock Creek, Ohio. Tim's in Avon. TLH Arts Projects. Haven't seen TLH Arts Projects in the chat in quite some time. Jersey Dog is in South Jersey. Brown Tiger is in Locust, North Carolina. Williams in Clayton, North Carolina. We got Justin out in Los Angeles. So shout out your city. Let me know where you are watching from today. Now, quick kind of a disclaimer, if you will. Today's live show isn't going to be like our usual Thursday live show. No big super chat paloozas or anything like that. If you want to super chat, by all means, feel free to do so. But we're not throwing any drinks or any shots back. The weather's pretty gnarly right now in Dallas. So I think the goal for the company is to try and get the videos out and not linger around for too much. So it won't be an extended live show is what I'm really getting at here. So let's see. We've got Farming Squad tuning in from Ohio. DLH is in Cleveland. I love to see it. Now, this is the live poll on today's show. And it's always a fun little question we have in the offseason. Which do you like more? The draft or free agency, right? I mean, what element of the offseason do you find more intriguing? Players you could sign potentially or players the Browns could draft? Let me know in the comments section. I'm a draft junkie, so I always have to lean draft. Plus, I feel like with free agency, you can spend all this time falling in love with a player, and then they just re-sign with their team, and you're like, well, that was a toxic relationship for about 3 weeks, but still, I just love the draft. I mean, mock drafts, draft rumors, draft targets, all that stuff. Num. Fletcher's logo says free agency. Josh says free. I think I'm in the minority here. TLH Art says free agency. Jason says free agency. I mean, remember, we are talking about a team that, to be honest, does struggle in bringing on free agents to Cleveland. So I like the draft a little bit more for that regard as well. Jersey Dog, with our draft record, give me free agency. That's a fair point. That's a good point. You may have persuaded me there. So with that, let's throw this question on here. How many wins for the Browns next season? I didn't ask this question. This one's coming from producer Sam, who's, not a Browns fan, or really anymore after Baker left. But it is curious when, someone from the outside comes in and wants to know what the pulse of the fan base thinks. Last year, my prediction for the Browns was 10-7. Finished 3 games off of it. I'm going to call it 2.5 because the Jets game really boned me. But definitely was underwhelming and definitely was a little bit overambitious. But now you've got Deshaun Watson for a full season. So for that reason, I'm going to go back to 10 wins. Give me 10 wins. That way, I'm not the guy who's going 17-0, but reel me into 10-7. And that's probably underachieving still for the amount of talent on this roster. But put me down for 10-7 right now. Come August, I will be at 13 wins most likely. That's just the way my brain works. Sam, do you want to give a prediction on how many wins for the Brownies this year? Remember, they finished last in the AFC North, so they get to play the last place teams in a couple of other divisions. So that kind of gives them a bit of an easier schedule. They get the Broncos, they get the Bears.
You know what? Just for the sake of pandering to today's audience,
Yeah.
I'm going to one-up you. I'm going to say 11 wins.
Wow, okay. Sam just stealing the show right away from me. 11 wins for the Browns. I like it. Brown Tiger says 11-6. TLH says 9-8. Fletcher says 10-7-1. If you call a tie and you get it, man, that is like NFL scripted kind of stuff. Which, by the way, have you guys seen on Twitter it's from Macro Dosing. It's a Barstool podcast. Has Arian Foster on it. And he was like jokingly like, yep, I get the script handed me from the NFL at the start of each season. Everything is scripted. And the Twitter memes are hilarious. Like, it's hard to verbalize, but the best one I saw was Sean Payton and the Saints in 2018 when they get handed the script, and after reading through it, finally get to the last page and see that they lose in the NFC Championship game on a no call. That's a great one.
First of all, yes, the memes are great. I also love how many people took that seriously.
Yeah, or it's just like another one was like Ray Lewis when he finds out he kills someone in real life.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't know that was in the script. Okay. All right. Jersey Dog says 12 wins. Tim Green's a big fan of Sam Brown. Sam, already making your presence known.
I'm a big fan of you too, Tim Green.
I love it. So, we're going to talk trades on today's show. Things are a little dry out there in terms of the Cleveland Browns news and rumors mill. So, I thought we would just kind of do an evergreen piece of trade targets because I do think the Browns and Andrew Berry might get aggressive this offseason because I think Andrew Berry is going to go into the season knowing if things don't go well, that would be 3 straight losing seasons, and my ass might be grass. So I don't have time to hold on to picks that I might never ever see get drafted or get developed. Give me proven talent right now, and let me get Deshaun Watson someone to work with here. We got a super chat coming in from the Brown Tiger. I love it, Brown Tiger. AFX Apocalypse, it always brings a smile to my face when I see you trying to troll me in the chat. And I say try. You're very successful, I'll be honest. But good to see you on back-to-back days. Brown Tiger with a $2 soupy. If we go 11-6, body shot. No, body shots cannot be given out for 11-6. Like, that is not good enough. Brown Tiger, I don't know if you've been to the last 2 live shows. We unveiled something new. Maybe I've got some short-term memory loss right now. But, hey, we've got some player comps for some of the big ballers, the MVPs of the channel. And your player comp I gave was Joe Hayden, right? I think a beloved fan favorite, a guy that probably should have played his whole career in Cleveland, let's be honest. I thought that would fit you nicely, so hope you like it. I can't remember if we have showed this to you just yet, or if this is your first time seeing your player comp. If you want a player comp, by the way, it's really simple. If you super chat $50 or more, we'll assign one to you. And then anytime you super chat moving forward, it comes on screen for everyone to see that the Brown Tiger is, okay, I had memory lapse. I was like, I think I do, but I was like, at the same time, if I'm explaining this and he has, if I'm showing this and he has no idea, then I'm going to feel really stupid. So we got a mailbag at the end of the show, as always. You guys know the drill. But for any of our newer viewers today, hey, use hashtag Browns, or you can even super chat. And if you super chat, you guarantee a spot on screen like Brown Tiger. But if you use hashtag Browns, you're at the mercy of producer Sam to pick questions. So you have to use hashtag Browns. Oh, we got some supers flying in. Here we go. Michael Warnecki with a $20 super. Levi, Scorpion. Let's start with Levi Mayfield super. Levi, thank you so much. I know you are always early and often in the chat for our live shows. Really appreciate you. Let's go Browns, baby. Michael Warnecki with a $20 soupy. Michael, we got a player comp for you. We'll throw that on screen in just a second here. No drinking paraphernalia today. It's just, not fitting the vibe of chat sports on a Wednesday. So, taking the day. Also, I've got a whole bachelor party this weekend, which we're going to talk about a little later on because I'm going to be looking for, some tips and whatnot. It's my second bachelor party, but I got a lot of drinking ahead of me this weekend. So, I got to kind of rest my body today for what is in store the next 4 days. Michael Warnecki is the Eric Metcalf of the show. Scorpion with a $5 super. We'll throw that picture on next. Got student of the quarter in my Polaris to represent my class, and I ended up representing the whole school, so cheers and go Browns. Scorpion, that's fucking awesome, man. Let's go Browns. Shout out to you. Love to see that kind of stuff. That's our Amari Cooper. Scorpion, thank you, and so happy to hear that great news for you. Cheers to you, my friend. Always love it when the Dawg Pound crushes it, especially the ones here at the channel. All right, here's what we got. Here's what we got coming up on today's show. The latest news and rumors. We got some trade targets, like I mentioned, and then we got that mailbag at the end of the show, which you know I love to have fun with and hear what you guys have to say, what you want to chime in with, all that good stuff. Okay, with that being said, Scorpion, that made my day on your behalf. So, yeah, that works out. So, we're ready to jump into some news and rumors. Right, Sam? All right, let's get this plane off the ground, and let's talk brownies. What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, recapping the latest on your Cleveland Browns with the help of a legend, Bernie Kosar, using our Bernie Heads Rumor Meter. Kind of a scale of believability. We've picked up some new subscribers since we last showed this, so just to remind some of the newer folks here, if we give a story 0 Bernie Heads, it's fake news. Don't worry about it. 4 Bernie Heads, it's Believeland. 1, 2, and 3, we're working our way up there. So, with that being said, let's jump into segment number 1 on today's show. The Senior Bowl. It's this weekend. Is it important to monitor? Is it important to follow? I'm going to give it 3 Bernie Heads, right? I don't think it has to be a 4 Bernie Heads. Otherwise, I'd be Jim Nagy. But I think it is something to check in on, see what's going on here. Because it's underway right now. They've done some measurements, and they're doing some individual drills. The game itself is on Saturday, and the Browns are, of course, there scouting out potential draft targets, which maybe you see that and you go, well, does that actually ever turn into them picking any of these players? Like, come on. It does. You know who the Senior Bowl MVP was last year? This guy, Perion Winfrey, who the Browns looked at, and they eventually drafted. So this is kind of a good reason why to keep some tabs, right? Pick up some buzz from it, and we'll do that for you here. Now, if you happen to be at a bar or something and the Senior Bowl is on because there's no good sports on this weekend, really, well, here are 5 players as kind of a cheat sheet right here, just to watch and look out for. I'm going to go with Rashee Rice, the wide receiver out of SMU. He might really benefit from the Senior Bowl and the Combine. With his speed, he might climb all the way up early round 2, where the Browns are picking at 42. Xavier Hutchinson. He continues to be the best in the Big 12 year after year. I'm a little surprised he's not getting more round 1 buzz. I think that'd be another name to watch for at round 2. Carl Brooks, he doesn't go to a big Power 5 school, but he's a big fella, and he might be one of those sleepers to keep an eye on. Derek Hall out of Auburn. If Cleveland decides Alex Wright, he's not ready to start, that could be a potential opposite of Myles Garrett defensive end. And then there's this guy, Jamie Robinson, who I continue to fall in love with. Just watching the tape and whatnot. 1 interception, 5 pass breakups in 2022. But what really I look at here is the run stopping ability, because you need that if you're going to move on from John Johnson in a Jim Schwartz defense. And 99 tackles last year goes to show he's got no problem stepping up into the box and blowing up a run play. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers we talked about here, Rice and Hutchinson, their stats are on screen for you guys. They were both really good last year and not in prolific offenses, and that says a lot. Rice, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and then Hutchinson, who's more of a possession receiver, 107 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So if Cleveland doesn't go wide receiver in free agency and never makes a trade for a guy like Brandin Cooks or DeAndre Hopkins or whoever's been getting all the buzz lately, these could be 2 players that end up in brown and orange. So that's why it's important to keep an eye on the Senior Bowl. Now, I do want to ask this question to all of you watching, and I invite you to get in the comment section. Which do you like more, the draft or free agency? I lean draft. Now, the Browns don't have a very good success in the draft, but they also don't have a long history of bringing on big, sexy free agents. So for that reason, I'll still lean draft, but let me know which one you like more. And hey, while you're getting your comments down below, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do so, because the offseason is here, of course, and we're going to get a lot of news and rumors on free agents the Browns are looking at, players they're looking at, and the draft, and you won't want to miss a thing, and that's why you got to be subscribed. Second story on today's show. Kareem Hunt, is he returning to Cleveland in 2023? You can give us one Bernie head. I'm really close to doing half a Bernie head, fake news, but I don't want to cut Bernie's head in half. Listen, so this story comes from Scott Petrak, who said that Kareem Hunt is unlikely to return unless it's on a cheap deal and no other team wants him. And that's true. That's true. Hunt is 27 right now. He's an unrestricted free agent this offseason. But my question is this new to anyone? Or is it just me that woke up really every morning since like October onwards and knew Kareem Hunt was not returning in 2023? It was a pretty disappointing season. And at the end of the year, I think we all remember yelling at our TVs, stop giving him the ball. Nothing happens with it. Blame it on the run a little bit. Blame it on the offensive line a little bit. Blame it on him. 468 yards on the ground, 210 through the air, 4 touchdowns, half of which came in the first 2 weeks of the season. So, cheap or not, I'd rather just roll with Jerome Ford, give now the second-year player out of Cincinnati some more touches, some more reps, and see if he can develop into a second, an understudy for Nick Chubb, rather than give it to Kareem Hunt, who, if he does come back, it's going to be on a 1-year deal. It's going to be on a veteran minimum contract. And I don't see any reason to believe that he'll come back and be a huge catalyst to this offense in 2023. Today's show, by the way, was made possible by BetUS. That's our sportsbook partner here at Chat Sports. And they're offering the Dawg Pound a 125% deposit bonus when you go to chatsports.com/bet and you use promo code Browns125. Listen, when it comes to Super Bowl, here's what my theory is. When it comes to betting on the big bowl, you don't bet the over. You don't bet the under. No, you pick a winner. That's the American thing to do. And I think the Chiefs are probably going to win this one. Give me Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid over Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. So I'm putting my money down on KC. Ride with me or fade me by using that link and promo code at the bottom of your screen. Third segment on today's show, Jacoby Brissett. Did he get screwed over? You betcha. 4 Bernie heads, baby. This was unbelievable. The Pro Bowl has to be canceled. This has to be some trivia we look back on in 30 years and go, wait, which backup quarterback made the Pro Bowl that killed it officially? Oh, yeah, Tyler Huntley. He wasn't even that good. He was decent in the playoff game against Cincinnati, but somehow Brissett was passed on, which, just so we're clear, Brissett's not a Pro Bowl quarterback either. But if we're being honest, he is much more qualified for the 2022 Pro Bowl than Tyler Huntley, okay? In pretty much every single category possible. This is just an embarrassment. And it's not even like just Brissett got screwed over. I think we'd all agree Bailey Zappi would have been cooler in the Pro Bowl. Tyler Huntley was not a Pro Bowl backup quarterback. He just wasn't. So Tyler Huntley, I think, might have killed the Pro Bowl. I think the entire sports world yesterday agreed, okay, it's now gotten officially out of control. We've had some borderline players make it before where we go, are they really a Pro Bowler? Maybe, I guess. I think Tyler Huntley was just as surprised as we were when he got the call. Now, the Pro Bowl, if you're not familiar, there's no game this year. It's flag football and dodgeball and some other skills competition. And Huntley probably will be a very good dodgeball player. I get that athleticism from him, but it still goes down as a Pro Bowl on his record, and it could have gone to someone else's record who's more deserving of it. And we always, shit talk the Pro Bowl, but then we look back and we use it as a way to measure players, right? We constantly go, dude, he's a 5-time Pro Bowler. This has to be the moment we go, saying he's a 3-time, 6-time, 7-time Pro Bowler should not mean anything when you're debating who's better and whatnot. Before we go, I need some help from all of the longtime viewers here at the channel or any new ones that made it to the end of the show. I've got a bachelor party trip coming up this weekend, so if you don't see me, you might know why, or if you see me from hitting the slopes in, well, not those kind of slopes, no, the ones in Lake Tahoe, well, that is why. But I want to know, what's your best bachelor party tip? This is my second bachelor party I've gone on, not my own. But let me know if you've got any tips for a bachelor party. Well, not bachelor like myself, but yeah, a bachelor party participant and future drunk bachelor party participant. Let me know what tips you have down in the comment section. Let's see what the chat's saying here. Tim Green, Huntley, good grief. I agree, Tim. Good grief indeed. Joshua Miller, will Brissett end up at Tampa Bay? Jacoby Brissett's going to be in demand this offseason for a bridge quarterback role. Where that is, I don't know. The Bucs make sense. I also wonder if they're ready to go full-on Kyle Trask, which they drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. Did they not? Kyle Trask? Was he a second round?
He was a second-round pick. He was the last pick of the second round.
Thank you, Sam. So, clearly they had some aspirations of him taking over.
Because that was the year. It was the year after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so this is now, he's been the backup for Brady, which he's been the 3rd string for Brady, which may say a little bit about how he looks in practice and whatnot, and kind of a lack of confidence in him actually ever having to go in the game. So maybe they go Trask. I don't know. We got to start a Bucs channel, I think. Right?
I think that along those lines, it's funny when people go with backup quarterbacks because they know the system type of guy. But he's also been sitting behind Blaine Gabbert for the last couple years.
We got a super chat from Brown Tiger. Let's throw that on screen. Go Browns is there. AFX Apocalypse. Where is Patrick? Because we had to move a day earlier on Wednesday. That doesn't really work with his work schedule. So Sam Brown offered to fill in. Honestly, clap it up for Sam. If not for him volunteering, we'd have no Browns live show today. So Brown Tiger with a super. Let's see what Brown Tiger has to say. Likelihood Anthony Schwartz is back next year. I will put it at 35%. He's probably going to be on the roster to start training camp. If someone offers to make a trade for him, they'll do the trade. Talking about, by the way, our Joe Hayden of the chat. But to answer your question in more detail, I don't think you're going to get a trade offer from him. Why would a team trade for him? They're just going to wait for the Browns to cut him, most likely, right? Don't we kind of remember that last year in August when we all wanted to trade for Scotty Miller and players like that? And it's well, you could trade for them, or you could just wait for them to get cut. And my guess is he's not going to make the 90. He's not going to make the 53-man roster. I mean, roster locks right now. Amari Cooper, assuming he does not get cut, and he better not. Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell. I think Michael Woods probably. So we're at 4. Probably a rookie wide receiver, 5. So if they go 6, it's Schwartz versus a free agent. I just don't really see a path for Schwartz to come back. I think when he got put on IR with a concussion, that was the last we saw of Schwartz. Joshua Miller with a $2 super. Love the offseason with huge breaking news alerts. Dude, the offseason is undervalued. It's awesome, I think. The offseason for probably half of the NFL teams after October is more exciting than in season. Can we agree?
It's really fun for us just because, and by the way, Joshua Miller, our Phil Dawson on today's show. It's really fun just getting to try and figure out where all these players are going to land.
Right.
Because everyone is talking their asses off for 2 months leading up to free agency, for 3 or 4 months leading up to the NFL draft, and finally, it's like the Joker meme. And here
we go. Yeah, great gif. I mean, the NFL doesn't have an offseason. We say offseason, but it's not. I mean, the NFL offseason is more prominent than most sports in season when that's going on. So, Josh, appreciate the super chat. Same goes for Brown Tiger. So next up on the show, by the way, we've got some trade targets to look at. And then afterwards, it's the mailbag. So if you want us to send a question in, I don't know why that was so hard to spit out, use hashtag Browns, or you can super chat. And if you super chat, as always, spot on screen. And if you use hashtag Browns in the chat, well, Sam Brown will pick his favorite questions. Okay, we already got a couple questions.
If anything, am I the perfect producer for this show, if anything, with my last name?
Wow, didn't even think of that. Brown of the Browns.
Sounds like it might be a weekly thing now.
Patrick, he's won the heart over of the Dawg Pound, so you got some work to do, not going to lie. People like Patrick more than me, I think, sometimes in the chat.
I mean, I think that goes for just about every channel we have here.
Yep. No, AFX Apocalypse. I won't even put that question on screen. You know what you did. I'm not going to jump off sides, but you.
This is his second time trying this.
I know. He's going to follow me everywhere if Stetson Bennett comes to the Browns. Okay. Let's talk trade targets. Sam, we ready? Okay. Let's jump into it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. And on today's show, I thought we would take a look at 5 different trade targets for the Browns because it does kind of feel like a trade may be brewing this offseason without a first-round pick and with a little bit of money to spend in free agency, maybe Andrew Berry decides the best way to add on and improve this roster is through the trade market. So with that, let's take a look at 5 guys, starting with a very common name, but you can't miss it. It's Brandin Cooks, the Houston Texans wide receiver. So Brandin Cooks, as always, is a big name in trade circles. He requested a trade twice in the last 6 or so months at this point. He wanted one before the trade deadline, didn't happen one, and now wants one after the season. Now, the Browns have been rumored to be interested in trading for Brandin Cooks. I remember after the trade deadline, AB talking to the press, said there was someone they were really close to trading for, and everyone wondered, was it Daron Payne or was it Brandin Cooks? Now, of course, Brandin Cooks has a connection with Deshaun Watson. Back in 2020, they overlapped in H-Town, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, 81 receptions. And I do wonder if Andrew Berry maybe gets a bit panicked, right? Maybe gets a little bit eager and goes, things have to work this year because if not, I'm out. And I don't have time to wait on a rookie wide receiver to maybe develop. Because outside of these 2 top receivers on the Browns, Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, there's a decent drop-off to say the least. Like, I am optimistic about David Bell. I'm optimistic. Well, no, that's really about it. About Michael Woods. Anthony Schwartz? Heavens no. So we see the jarring drop-off there is from their top 2 to their next 3. And that's where I wonder if Andrew Berry goes, I need the Browns and Deshaun Watson to be successful this year. Otherwise, I could be looking for a job after 3 straight losing seasons. So how about I go out and get someone that I know will work well with Watson because they have that history. So here's my trade idea. If I had to estimate what Brandin Cooks goes for, I think he probably catches a 3rd, but the Texans probably have to send a pick back. Decent $18 million base salary coming over to the new team, if memory serves correct. So for that reason, I think the Browns maybe pick up a future 5th, and they are cost a 3rd. Still have their 2nd, though, in the upcoming draft. So let me know, would you do this trade? Trade or pass? Sound off in the comments section below. Unpopular opinion here, I don't think Cleveland is a 30-year-old Brandin Cooks away from being complete. I know it's fun to trade for wide receivers, and I kind of get suckered into it quite often. But if we're actually taking a step back here and really looking at the whole picture, I don't know if a 3rd rounder for Brandin Cooks is really the best use of draft capital. Now, it's not like Andrew Berry has a great success of using 3rd rounders on wide receivers, CC Anthony Schwartz, but I think I'd rather see it maybe go to someone like this, for example, DeForest Buckner, the Indianapolis Colts defensive tackle who is on a bad team that is not looking to go anywhere right now. And when you look at his stats, he's been one thing only the last 4 seasons, consistent. And consistently good, if you ask me. 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Can you imagine the type of production he could have opposite of Myles Garrett, where Myles Garrett gets to attract a tackle and a tight end, and Buckner gets isolated? I love it. Now, we're going to talk more about DeForest Buckner in just a moment. But first, today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens. Now, I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. You can get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Now, I recently gave AG1 a try because I hated taking pills and vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. It really helps with me starting my day on the right foot and getting into a healthier lifestyle. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. All I do is just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water. I drink it first thing every morning, and it's done. I also love that it costs less than $3 a day, which is pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. Win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports, and check it out. I also put that link for everyone in the comments and the description of today's show. I am head over heels in love with DeForest Buckner, okay? I would trade a second for DeForest Buckner. I know couch GMs like myself, it's tough to give up draft picks, and it's like, but that draft pick could be awesome. Yeah, go look at some recent second-round drafts. Like, there's not many players getting second contracts from their teams. DeForest Buckner is under 30 years old. You're going to have a full 4 or 5 year contract in him. And I think him and Myles Garrett would be an amazing duo on this Browns defensive line. And hopefully and finally we can get Myles Garrett a real partner to work with for more than 1 to 2 seasons. It's constantly been a revolving door up there for him. Give him someone long-term to partner with here. Like I said, let's go back in time. Let's go look at the 2019 draft. In case you're wondering how these picks look in the mid-40s, Drew Lock, 42nd, where the Browns are picking, F. Linebacker for the Lions, Tavai, give an average grade C. Jenkins, good for the Packers, A. Williams, D. Greedy Williams, C-. I see 1.5 good picks of those 5 right there. Go back a year prior. What about in 2018? Mike Gesicki, B-, not getting a second contract with the Dolphins. Kerryon Johnson, Dante Pettis, boom. Josh Jackson, boom. Breeland Speaks, boom. Look at that. F, D, 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 B-. I know second-round picks are hard to part ways with, but let's be honest. It's a bit of a crapshoot in the draft, okay? DeForest Buckner is a proven thing. Now, let's say it's not DeForest Buckner. What about a new name? We have not discussed Cameron Jordan yet on the show, but I have seen him tossed around as a potential trade piece this offseason. Now, the Saints did just pick up a first-round draft pick from the Broncos, but maybe they're looking for a bigger rebuild. Now, Cameron Jordan, the last 4 seasons, I mean, he's one of the best defensive ends in football here. 15.5 sacks back in 2019, 7.5 the next year, up to 12.5, down to 8.5. I mean, his lows are higher than any other second fiddle to Myles Garrett's high in the last 5 or so seasons here. So the Saints could be sellers. I wouldn't be shocked if they look at their window here and go, we don't really know what we're doing at quarterback. We don't really think we have much of a winning formula put in place here. Cam Jordan's toward the end of his career. Kind of reminds me of the Bears last year when they traded Khalil Mack to the Chargers, right? Where there's been more buzz. It was more buzz for Mack, but maybe that picks up with Cam Jordan soon. Now, if a Browns trade does go down, we will be going live here on the channel, which is why you got to have your notifications on, okay? So if you're already subscribed, make sure to hit that notification bell icon. Turn them all on. That way, you get the push notification of Browns Report going live after Cleveland trades for Cam Jordan, Brandin Cooks, whoever it may be. Moving on here to kind of a lower-level trade target. This is Mike Purcell. He's a defensive tackle for the Broncos, and he's not going to cost you that much. And maybe Andrew Berry looks at what he's got going here on his defensive line and thinks, Perrion Winfrey, end of the year, playing decently well, but he wasn't, an absolute people mover. Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai, they ain't it. And Taven Bryan's probably not coming back. So if he can't find a Daron Payne in free agency because he gets tagged, or he can't find some big-name defensive tackle, maybe he pursues a guy like Mike Purcell, who played decently well in 2022 for the Broncos. 1.5 sacks. He's a really good run stopper. And that's what you're looking for right now. You need a run stopper. So if the Browns swing and miss at defensive tackle in free agency for whatever reason, Purcell probably cost you a 6th round, 7th round draft pick. I'm sure Denver would like to get some picks back too after trading away some to get Sean Payton. So that could be an avenue Andrew Berry goes down. We'll end the video with another Denver Bronco player, and that's KJ Hamler. Penn State Nittany Lion, former 2nd-round pick, and it has not been a good start to his career. Injuries have been a major setback for him. He had a bad ACL injury in 2021, also dislocated his hip. It was a really big, ugly mess, to be honest with you. 620 yards in 23 games played and 3 touchdowns. So injuries have derailed his career. But maybe we're talking about a former 2nd-round pick here, a new change of scenery, and a full year to kind of recover after his ACL injury Kind of reminds me of like Saquon Barkley. When he came back from his ACL injury, it took him basically a full season to get back into the groove of things. Maybe Hamler could be gotten for cheap and it'll be one of the bigger steals. Sort of like Amari Cooper going for a 5th. And Hamler also fits what you're looking for. He's a speed receiver to stretch the defense, get the open looks downfield. So that kind of fills the box that Andrew Berry is looking for here. Now, I want to hear from all of you watching right now before we let you go. What is your top trade target for Cleveland? Sound off in the comments section below, whether it's one of those 5 guys we talked about or somebody else. Okay, let's give some shout-outs here, see what everyone's saying. Joe Purcell plays in a 3-4. That's a good point. Now, he plays that one technique, that interior spot. That's not a hard transition to go from a nose tackle to a 3 technique. What's a bigger jump from a 3-4 to a 4-3 is when you ask a Myles Garrett to go from being a down lineman to an outside linebacker, or an outside linebacker to being a down lineman. For him, he's just moving from being over the center to in between the guard and the tackle here. Darko says D-Hop. Michael Misner says D-Hop. I didn't include DeAndre Hopkins for 2 reasons. One, there's already so much chatter about him. I thought we could look for some new names. Plus, I low-key don't think he's actually what the Browns need on offense. Like, he's awesome. They trade for him, I'll be excited because he's good at football. But, hand up, is DeAndre Hopkins really what is missing on this Browns offense? I don't know, Jim. I don't know. And Apex Apocalypse, what about signing Jabril Peppers? Not opposed. Peppers played pretty well for New England this year. Remember, he ruptured his Achilles with the G-Men a year before that. And some people thought, kind of later in your career-ish, that could be a bit of a setback. No, I think Peppers could be a fun pickup for Cleveland, kind of bring him back to the land. Ryan with a $2 super. What's going on, Ryan? How fast is a fast wide receiver by your definition? Like 40 yard. Good question. I am a decent believer of, like, I think speed's a bit overrated when we evaluate players in the combine. Like, go look at the 2017 combine, see who finished at the top for the 40. I think you'll be surprised that you don't recognize any of their names. But for me, I will go with, for a wide receiver, if you are you're under a 4.4. Yeah, I think if you're under a 4.2 and under, get a little bit of a grace to that 4.4. So 4.42 and under, I think is pretty fast for a wide receiver. So that would be my cutoff here. That's the Jarvis Landry. Sam?
Do you want to play a game right now?
Yeah.
I have pulled up the top,
40.
Yeah, top 40-yard dashes from 2017 Combine, which
wide receivers?
Number one is...
Is it John Ross?
Number 1 is John Ross.
Okay, how did he work out, everyone? Yeah. Next.
We'll go down the list here, but I also want you to try and name the college if you can.
Okay.
Jalen Myrick.
Yep, you see what I'm saying? What do you run, like a 4...
He ran a 4.28. He went to...
No idea.
Minnesota.
Okay.
I will give credit, there are some notable names. Curtis Samuel finished 3rd at 4.31.
He's good, but like...
Marshawn Lattimore at 4.36.
Okay, yeah, that checks out.
You've got guys like Fabian Moreau, Shaquille Griffin, were at 4.35 and 4.38, respectively. But then you also got T.J. Logan and Cordrea Tankersley.
You see what I'm saying? Like, when the combine rolls around, everyone just like, busts a load to like, oh, what kind of combine was that? What an amazing 40 time. And then they don't end up doing anything. Like some of the better players in football, go look at their combine. Tell me what Mike Evans' 40-yard dash is. Like, I think, now the Browns need speed. I'm not saying I'm anti-speed, okay? But it's not the end-all, be-all when we look at combines.
I've got one more name for you.
Yeah.
At 4.4 flat, Mr. Josh Malone out of Tennessee.
Oh, go Vols. Went to the Bengals, and where was he last? He was recently picked up on someone's practice squad. I can't remember. Yeah. He went to the Jets, and then he went to the Broncos, I think, maybe afterwards. But I think he went somewhere after Denver. Steelers, okay. We got a $20 super chat from Michael Misner. What's the latest on Clowney and Kareem? Sorry if you've already discussed this. I came late to the party. No, you're not late at all, actually. So, Michael Misner, of course, our Josh Cribbs. But Clowney, don't bring him back. What he did the last week of the season was immature and what I think what ticked me off more was that he tried to walk it back and blame Mary Kay and Cleveland.com and say they made it up and they exaggerated or whatever. No, You said it. You just were not thinking of the repercussions, and you tried to pass the blame off. I thought that was just disrespectful. And in terms of Kareem Hunt, why would they bring him back? Like, Kareem Hunt, I think, would like to come back if no one else comes calling, and he has to pick a vet minimum somewhere. Of course, a local, I could see why that would make sense. But if I'm the Browns, you didn't do it for Jarvis Landry. Kind of goes to show you a bit of a playbook there of like, thank you, but we're going to go a different direction now. And that different direction is number 34, Jerome Ford. Next up on the show, we've got a mailbag. So a handful of you have already gotten those questions in. Pat in your back, hashtag Browns, or you can super chat like a handful of people have already. And if you super chat a question, we'll include that in the mailbag. Just the ones that were questions, though. So, yeah. So, let's see here. Look at John Ross, ran a 4.22. I believe he's a first-round pick and one of the biggest busts of the past decade. Yeah, exactly. Like, I just think, now, I know I sound a bit contradictory here. Speed's important, don't get me wrong, and it's important because that's what the Browns need right now. Because here's why. Allow me to quickly expand on this whole speed wide receiver take. If you've got 3 receivers on the field and none of them run over a 4.45, okay, what's that going to tell the safety? That they don't need to take a step back. They don't have to worry about you running past them because they can match foot for foot with you. So when you don't have any speed on the field, it makes it a lot more difficult to work over the middle of the field where the safeties can drop down to. So you need to have some speed element. Now, you also can't just be a go guy because if you have a speedster on your field and that's all he does, that kind of tips off the defense of what play is coming, right? If you can't run block and they see Anthony Schwartz come on the field or whoever it is, they go, well, we definitely know what play or what route he's running because there's nothing else a part of his game. So speed's important, but it's not the only thing. You can have a whole bunch of fast guys, but they can't do anything other than run down the field. You've got 11 Anthony Schwartzes, and we know how that goes. Now, we've got a mailbag coming up next, so get those questions in if you're curious about anything related to the Cleveland Browns. Happy to answer it for you. Hashtag Browns in the chat, or you can super chat like so many of you have already today. Sam, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Let me actually... Troll and Coop. Okay. So I'm ready whenever you are, Sam. Let's jump into a Cleveland Browns mailbag. We've got a Cleveland Browns Report mailbag coming up on today's show. Now, today's questions were live or asked during our live show, which was on Wednesday this week, but usually it's Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern. So let's start things off with a super chat we had fly in during the live show from the one and only Brown Tiger. Likelihood Anthony Schwartz is back next year. Put me down for actually 30%, and that might be a bit high. I'm guessing he'll make the 90-man roster to start camp. I don't think he'll make the 53-man roster. Now, there's probably going to be a ton of trade Anthony Schwartz talk. To who? The CFL? Like, who's trading for Anthony Schwartz? They'll just wait for him to get cut before they give up a 2029 7th-round pick. So maybe Anthony Schwartz can turn it around going into year 3. I'm not very optimistic. Ryan Chowdhury's next up on the show. How fast is a fast wide receiver by your definition? By, 40-yard time. I think my cutoff is if you run under a 4.42, you're pretty fast. Michael Misner here. What's the latest on Clowney and Kareem Hunt? The latest on Clowney is I hope the Browns don't re-sign him. They really shouldn't re-sign him. It was childish and immature the way he left the team and just sort of bashed Myles Garrett and the defense on the way out, so to speak. But I think what pissed me off more is the way he deflected all that and then just blame Mary Kay and Cleveland.com. No, you said those things. Just because you're upset that they got a microphone, which you sort of asked for by doing an interview, doesn't mean you can go around and say those words were taken out of context. They weren't at all. As for Kareem Hunt, I've heard that maybe he'll come back on a vet minimum. I hope not. I mean, I was the biggest Kareem Hunt stan out there last year. But this season was no good. No fuego. So for that reason, I'd rather see his reps go to Jerome Ford. Jason Derulo, what do you think about trading for Adam Thielen? Interesting. We've talked a lot about trading for wide receivers. We haven't talked about trading for Adam Thielen. In 2022, I think we can get his stats up on screen. Yep, thank you, Sam. 70 grabs, 716 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had a bad ankle injury, and the 30-plus-year-old slot receiver definitely fills a need of like what the Browns are looking for in a type of receiver. But I think Adam Thielen's best days are well behind him, and he's kind of going downhill somewhat quickly. If he's cut, I could see maybe the possibility of signing him. I don't think you give up any draft picks for him, though. And I think the Vikings might end up cutting him. They are not in a good cap situation right now, and Thielen is a pretty easy guy to move on from at this point in his career. Now, I do want to ask this kind of off-the-wall question right now. Name a random Browns receiver. I love doing these because it's always a good, like, what's it called? Time capsule and whatnot. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's a good time capsule here. But it has to be random. You cannot say, an Amari Cooper. It's got to be very random. The more random, the better. So give me a random Browns receiver down below. Levi Mayfield asking, what's your thoughts on Ndamukong Suh? Sign a one year with him to beef up that line. It's not going to happen. If it was going to happen, it would have already happened at this point. Now, for all of you that said, don't sign Ndamukong Suh, he sucks, he's washed, whatever, look at the Eagles in the playoffs right now. He looked pretty good to me against the 49ers. But if the Browns had any interest, it would have been last year. I doubt they go after him this offseason. Scorpion, what's going on? Besides Daron Payne, who else do you really, really want the Browns to sign? Good question. I do appreciate you prefacing with beside Daron Payne. So I think we got to start on defense because on offense, there's really only one need, and that's wide receiver. And the best receiver in the market is Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he sucks. So on defense, it's got to start up front, right? And if it's not Daron Payne, Javon Hargrave's an interesting name. I like Shy Tuttle a lot out of New Orleans. Tierra Tart, I believe, is a restricted free agent. I'm a big fan of his work as well. Secondary, Jesse Bates. Safety, Julian Love. To give one name, though, I almost want to cheat and say when DeForest Buckner is released by the Colts, then DeForest Buckner, but I won't cheat. Put me down for, I guess, got to be Javon Hargrave, right? Got to be another big defensive tackle. TLH Arts and Projects, early predictions. Where is Jacoby Brissett going, and how much do we get for him in a trade? Well, got bad news for you. You can't trade Jacoby Brissett because he's a free agent. So all the players like Kareem Hunt and Jadeveon Clowney and Jacoby Brissett, they are not tradable. They are free agents. Where is he going to end up? I don't know. Somewhere with a bridge quarterback system in place. I wonder if like the Raiders could make sense if, Tom Brady retiring and maybe Rodgers doesn't go to Vegas. I don't know what they want to do, so maybe he goes there. That's a shot in the dark. Now, before we get any further into today's show, I'm going to call on everyone watching right now that has not subscribed to please go ahead and do so. Help us reach our next milestone, 17,500 subs. We are 444 away, so help us reach that goal sooner rather than later by clicking onto the subscribe button. AFX Apocalypse, all jokes aside, who would be the best backup QB for the Browns? AFX Apocalypse is trying to troll me with the Stetson Bennett slander. Well, I'm slandering. I don't like Stetson Bennett. But best backup quarterback option, I think it's probably going to end up being Kellen Mond. One, he's not a free agent. He's under contract. Two, when the Browns released Josh Dobbs, that told me that when they picked up Kellen Mond the day after he was released in Minnesota, from that day forward to the day Deshaun Watson would be activated to the roster and they have to take someone's roster spot, there was a QB2 battle for 2023 brewing between Kellen Mond and Josh Dobbs. And clearly, Mond impressed enough to, I think, what was win the backup role for next year, knowing Brissett wouldn't be back. So my best guess is Kellen Mond. Little Beam, should the Browns maybe do a 1-year, $15 million contract with Brandin Cooks if he comes here? So Brandin Cooks is under contract, right, with the Texans. You'd have to trade for him. He's not a free agent, and you would be picking up his contract, which I believe has 2023 and 2024 on it, maybe 2025. That part I cannot remember, but at least 2 more years on this deal, and his base salary is around $18 million, so you'd restructure if this is what you're talking about, but that's not going to happen, or extend him potentially. But no, you can't pick up or sign Brandin Cooks to this deal. Brendan Gray, Ohio. If we pick up Jesse Bates and we can get some defensive line, we are Super Bowl contenders. Do you agree? You add Jesse Bates. It's probably going to be your only big free agent swing. I think the Browns are going to have around $35-ish million to spend in free agency this year. They're going to want to save $5 million for their draft picks and like an emergency in case of a midseason addition. So now we got $30 million to spend. Jesse Bates probably going to cost about $20 million a season. So that leaves you 10 to fill out the rest of your roster. So you get Jesse Bates and you nail that second round draft pick. And by nail, I mean they are a starter like Martin Emerson and a big-time contributor. And then there's this guy named Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Yeah, I definitely think this Browns team is Super Bowl contenders. Arguably, and this is a, tinfoil hat, big bias here. Why aren't they Super Bowl contenders even without Jesse Bates? That's the whole point of trading for Deshaun Watson, was to immediately jump up towards the front of the line and be with the big heavyweights of the AFC. But clearly a long way to go until we see that time and time again. Terry Black's Barbecue. Very good. With the Broncos giving up a pick for Sean Payton, could Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton be on the move? Good question. So, if you remember, in case you're unfamiliar, the trade details for Sean Payton were a first and a future second to New Orleans for Sean Payton and a third. And now the Broncos are in a weird spot where they've given up a ton of draft picks, right? They've given up 3 firsts for a combination of Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. So maybe they look at their assets and go, can we liquidize some of these and try and get some draft capital back? And Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton would be 2 trade candidates for Denver most likely. Now, Jeudy really surged at the end of the season, and we'll talk more about him in just a moment. Courtland Sutton was supposed to be the wide receiver 1 on this team, and if you have Courtland Sutton in fantasy, you probably know what I'm going to say next, which is he has some great games, but then he has some bad stretches. And those bad stretches are starting to concern me. Now, Jerry Jeudy, I think, would be the player to watch for here because he's garnished more trade buzz. I don't think he ends up getting traded, to be honest with you guys. The reason being is it sounds like they nearly had a trade in place for him before the trade deadline with the Packers that would involve a second-round pick coming to Denver, and that wasn't enough. And since then, Jerry Jeudy's 972 yards and 6 touchdowns, majority of that came after the trade deadline, where his value only rose. So for that reason, I don't think Cleveland probably has enough to get it done. Today's show, by the way, made possible by none other than our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Check them out today by going to chatsports.com/bet and using promo code Browns125. When you do, they're going to offer you guys a 125% deposit bonus. There's really no other sportsbook out there that's giving you that kind of money. So make sure all of your Super Bowl picks and all that good stuff are made at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Browns125. Joshua Miller. DeForest Buckner would be our best bet. Trade Greg Newsome and a 5th for Buckner. Why did the Colts do this? I guess maybe because they get a younger player in Greg Newsome and hope that him and Kenny Young can be a good combination, but I don't think Indy is interested in trading for players. They want draft picks right now. That's how you do a rebuild, right? Kenny Moore. I would say Kenny Young. So I think the Colts probably decline this trade here. Maybe they view Greg Newsome as, a surefire thing rather than a lottery ticket like a draft pick. But hey, if that could get done, I'm in, Josh. Jersey Dog next up on the show. Who's going to show the most improvement next year with Schwartz as defensive coordinator? Maybe my favorite question of the entire mailbag. Who's kind of getting, most? Myles Garrett's going to be in for one hell of a season probably. With the way that Jim Schwartz isolates his best pass rushers, that's probably going to be one guy. Can I say something that's not on the roster? Can I say someone not on the roster? Right? Could it be someone who's coming in from free agency or coming in through the draft? Because Jim Schwartz does a great job with his interior defensive tackles, and I don't think Perrion Winfrey, that could probably be the guy. Pencil me down for Perrion Winfrey as someone who really makes a huge jump, because right now the floor for Winfrey is pretty low whereas for Garrett, it's pretty high. So to answer your question, Jersey Dog, I'll go Perrion Winfrey. TLH Arts and Projects. What about trying to get my favorite QB right now, Josh Dobbs, back on this team? Like I mentioned earlier, it sounds like the Browns made their decision on their 2023 backup QB. They went Kellen Mond. That's why they released Dobbs. Now, maybe after watching Dobbs play in meaningful regular season games for the Titans down the stretch, Andrew Berry goes, we made a mistake and bring back Dobbs, but that's going to be another free agent contract they have to give out. Whereas Kellen Mond is on his rookie deal with the Browns and pretty cheap. I just don't think the backup QB is going to get a lot of, monetary investment this offseason. AFX Apocalypse asking, should the Browns sign Jarvis Landry again or Larry Ogunjobi or even Jabril Peppers? Heck, even Joe Schobert. If I had to rank those four guys in terms of who I'd like to see the Browns sign this offseason, I'll go Larry Ogunjobi 1, Jabril Peppers not far behind at 2, Jarvis Landry at 3, which sucks to say because Juice was such an important part of this locker room, and his presence was missed in the slot this year, but he wasn't good with the Saints really this past season. And then Joe Schobert at the bottom. He was not that good this past season. He had one good year with the Browns, and that made him some money in Jacksonville. Good for him, but that's really about it. So that would be my 4 priority rankings of those 4 guys, really just based off need. And I think defensive tackle has to be number 1. Last question coming in from Mike Hall. What do you think the chances are the Browns win the AFC North next year? I don't know. Bengals are going to be tough to dethrone. The Bengals showed this year that last year was not just a Cinderella run. We all knew Joe Burrow was going to be good, but actually the Bengals team put it together. That was frightening. I'm not going to lie. So I think if Lamar gets traded, that's going to change things. If Pickett picks up where he left off and he ended the year on a pretty good note, I'll put the chances of the Browns winning the division to give you a percentage, which I hate doing because it's just making a number up, but 30%, right? I think the Bengals probably have 50%. And maybe 30 is even too high. I don't know. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. It's going to be tough to dethrone Cincinnati. Back-to-back division champs. Let's put it that way for sure here. Now, before we go, I am going to crowdsource everyone watching right now for a TV show recommendation. My girlfriend and I have recently finished up our show, and we're on the market for a new show. So if you've got any good recs, let me know in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Matthew Petey. That way you can stay informed on all the Browns off-season news and moves and stuff like that. So hit me up at Matthew Petey. I put the link to my Twitter in the comments and the description of today's show. That's going to do it for us on this mailbag. I appreciate everyone who took time out of their day and made us a part of your day. All right, give me some TV show recs. Tim, I've already seen White Lotus. Come on, new ones, people. Should they sign RG3? No.
Earlier he threw out, shout out to AFX, he threw out Johnny Manziel, too, in case you want to consider that.
Johnny Manziel for what?
Signing him.
Oh, yeah. Funny. No, I mean, guys, huddle up here. Stetson Bennett cannot come to the Browns. That cannot be an option. Like I said, what happened was, one, as a Tennessee guy, which I'm sure a lot of you already know at this point, I hate Georgia. I really hate Stetson Bennett, and I just think he's a fraud, and I don't want him on the Browns. And I also may or may not have made a monetary bet last year during the draft that Stetson Bennett would not get drafted next year. So there's that too. But no Stetson Bennett. Better Call Saul. I watched Breaking Bad. Maybe I should rewatch Breaking Bad. It's been a while since I watched Breaking Bad, and it's one of the best shows out there.
I've been pushing for me and my roommate to rewatch that one for a minute now.
Yeah.
I watched Better Call Saul. Well, I didn't finish it. I know some people say that it gets so good. I made it through almost to the end of season 2, and I was just like, nothing's happening yet.
Yeah.
Like I want Gustavo in the show earlier than whatever season he's on. I don't really see him. You see, no spoilers, but they show they have Tuco involved early on, which is like one of the OG Breaking Bad characters. And you're like, oh, this is going to be what the show's about. It's going to be like one of these shows again. It's going to be like Breaking Bad. Never saw him again on the show. He might make an appearance later on. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's been so long for Breaking Bad for me. I feel like if I watched it, it'd almost be like if I rewatched it, it would be like watching it for the first time. Tim says Seinfeld reruns. I love Seinfeld. Kings in the High Tower. I never heard of that. Apocalypse, you're cracking me up. I gotta follow orders at Chat Sports. We all have bosses in our lives. So when the boss gives you an order, you just say yes and take off your Browns polo. Better Call Saul. Yep. All right. Sopranos, The Walking Dead. Okay. We've got over 100 people watching right now. Did we get any new supers while I was in the middle of that cut? I don't think so. Okay. So with that being said, I do have to put the timer on because, like I said, it's, I don't know if you guys have kept up with the weather news, but here at Chat Sports, we are in Dallas, and it's like an ice storm. So I think the goal is to get everyone kind of out on the earlier side because I think we got more rain coming down. Might be coming down right now. I don't know. So I'll put the timer on for like a minute. If we don't get a super chat or anything, no sweat, no problem, no harm, no foul. But we're going to sign off and get on out of here. I know it's not like a usual. No, that's okay. I know it's not like the usual live show, but it's an In-N-Out Burger, right? An hour and change. Everyone gets back to the day. Not bad at all here. You should bring Raider Mitch on the show. Man of the High Tower. I have watched that. That's on Amazon. That's like if the Nazis won World War II. YouTube's definitely going to flag me because I said the word Nazis now. Now I said it twice.
I'm gonna cut it.
Yeah. Joe says 75 in Phoenix. I mean, us Midwesterners, like, I don't get fazed by the snow or the cold. It is kind of fun to watch people down here, like, shaking their boots, having to drive. Cough, cough, producer Sam.
Well,
he's a better sport about it than most people are.
Well, for starters, I didn't shake in my boots about it. There's about half the office that's still sitting pretty at home. We live Pete and I live in the same apartment complex, so I don't really have an excuse. Petey was gonna get here no matter what, and I'm the producer on his show today, so I knew I was gonna have to be here no matter what. I will say, yesterday wasn't that bad.
Today was worse.
Today I almost got hit on my way to work.
Yeah. Oh no. At one point I was driving to work, and so there's this one light. I'll end on this though. There's this one light outside of Sam and I's building that is the shortest light, and it's got like sensors beneath it, and so it doesn't turn green unless it feels the weight of a car.
Yeah.
There's so much ice, I don't think it's actually sensing the weight. So I waited there for, no joke, 3 minutes, which if you think about, it's a long time. And eventually I was like, I'm done. I'm done waiting. It's red. There's no cars coming. There hasn't been for 90 seconds. We're going. So I start to go, and immediately I'm making a left, right? You can kind of picture that. My back wheels start to fish out a little bit, and now I am like facing oncoming traffic like I'm in the UK or something. So quickly swerve to the right, get back on the right side of the road. But that was a scary part this morning.
People just don't know how to overcorrect or how to correct yourself after.
Yeah, exactly.
And I grew up, my first car was a 2001 stick shift Jeep Wrangler. So
I can't drive stick.
Shout out to you. I learned how to drive stick before I learned how to drive normal.
Okay. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much, everyone, for probably, moving around your schedules, joining us on a Wednesday compared to the usual Thursday. Appreciate all the super chats we had fly into to the show today. Michael, Brown Tiger, all of you guys, thank you so much for your super chats, your very kind donations. Appreciate you, Nick, Tim, Josh, everyone out there. We're going to sign off and see you all later. I'll be out of town this weekend, so we'll have some scheduled videos go out. Hopefully, no breaking news, at least for my sake. Otherwise, I'm doing a video from the ski lift. So with that being said, go Browns, and I'll see you guys starting next week.